positions? I know you can play anywhere and play well.
Yeah, I'm not going to get into specifics about each spot. Austin, as you know, last spring, last fall camp, bounced around a good bit. He's got something minor right now that we're dealing with, so we've been able to take a look at a couple other combinations. But Austin's certainly someone that's a part of that lineup, right? I mean, he gives us flexibility where he can play on the exterior at tackle, really either one. He gives us flexibility to play him on the interior. So we're looking forward to getting him back full go for the summer, and let's see how it all fits together.
How's Ian Moore and Carter Lowe doing getting those valuable reps with the ones this spring?
Oh, it's been huge. I mean, I think that's been the blessing in disguise with this, right? For young guys to have a chance to step up, that next man up mentality. You're expected to go in and operate as good or better than the person you're replacing, but it's been invaluable for them, right? Not only, because it's different, right? You go through a practice and you stagger reps. You got your ones versus your ones in the spring, your twos versus your twos. So it's a lot different when you're taking that step up. A guy thinks he's competing at a high level when he's going against the twos defense. Now he gets a chance to step up and go against the one. So there's growing pains with that, but it's something that's going to be beneficial for us down the road.
How big are they,
What's
for Carter Lowe, what have you seen specifically out of him growth-wise since the end of the season to now?
Yeah, the number one thing, right, when you look at Carter, I think, and this goes for all O-linemen coming in, we're going to go through that with our freshmen right now. As physically gifted as they are coming out of high school, there's a lot of physical development that goes into it. And I think Carter is a good example, really came into his own, I would say, probably week 7 or week 8 last year. Really's got his body right, really starts getting stronger. You always see the movement. Carter's an intelligent young man that's starting to really understand the game a little bit more big picture. So those are the things that stick out, his movement. But now I think he's starting to get some strength come together, and he knows he's still got a long way to go in that department. But, as the physical development catches up with where he's trending from a football standpoint, I think we got a chance to have a really good player there.
What makes Austin, because he gives you such flexibility with where you want to put him, when you're trying to find your best five, when it comes to him specifically, how much is, when you're trying to decide who the five are going to be out there, like where you want to put Austin first, or maybe some of the other guys and how they develop over the next 6 months, making a decision on where you want to put Austin?
Yeah, I'm not going to get into the specifics of that. Obviously, we're going to look at it. I think sometimes we look at O-line depth charts, charted, left tackle. The right tackle is important too, right? So is the right guard, so is the left. They're all very important. So, the goal is every year you're trying to look at that group, not, all right, who's the first 5, who's the second left tackle, but 1 through 16 or 1 through 20 when we're at full strength here with a couple guys coming in, what does that ranking look like? Then from there, you're looking what flexibility does each guy have to be able to move around? I think that's where the tricky part comes in, right? You're looking at the flexibility. Some guys are tackle only, right? Some guys are interior only. Then there's a few guys that would be categorized as swing guys. So you're trying to look at that 1 through 5, 1 through 7, and try to make the best decisions to put the best group on the field. And then, we got to get them on the field together in those positions as soon as possible in the summer, going into fall camp, so we can start creating some cohesion. And then we can start having contingency plans, right? A guy goes down here or there, who's the next man up, where does he go, and who moves around to make that work?
What big lesson learned? One at a time.
Austin can play left, right tackle, inside, outside. What traits does he have that allows you that flexibility and allows him that flexibility?
Yeah, well, I think he's got some movement skills, right? I mean, I think you were able to see that last year with the role he had to step into. Austin provides length. He's a guy that's got long arms. When you think of it in the collegiate level, he's an above average length guy to play tackle, which is also going to help him on the interior, right? You're trying to find the biggest, longest, most athletic guys and develop them into becoming good O-linemen. But I think those physical traits, and then you're dealing with a guy who's been fortunate to play a lot of football, just like a few of these guys have. So it's not a total mind change for him or anything. When you move him around, he's got a good awareness of why we're doing what we're doing schematically.
How many guys do you have that you think right now can play inside and outside?
Oh man, I don't. You put me on the spot right there. We have a few, right, in a pinch. We've got guys that we need to play tackle. Obviously because of length and skill set and some of the things you deal with there. And I think more often than not, the way I'll answer that, I don't know right off the top of my head how many we'll see as we go through summer. But more often than not, you always have tackles that could bump into guard, right? That's more of a commonplace. A lot of these guys, right, we're recruiting them out of high school. A lot of these, we got a full house today. A lot of these guys, they all play tackle in high school. Then it's a matter of finding those spots for them when they come into college.
What's a big lesson you think you guys learned, offensive line-wise, from the last 2 games of last year? Obviously, Indiana,
was playing some games up front. Miami just threw the kitchen sink at you to a certain extent. What is the group? What do you think was learned from that? And how much, I'll ask the second question, how much does it help Gabe Van Sickle having gone through maybe that Miami game or the
Yeah, no,
Miami game?
I think they're both good questions. I'll answer the second one first. I think obviously anytime a player experiences things, right, and potentially from negative experience or positive experience, it's going to etch something in his mind, and you hope you're putting guys in a position where they're not going to make those same mistakes twice. And I'm surely think he learned a lot from his experiences later in the year, both playing in a good way at times, and then having some plays he'd like back, right? I think you learn a couple things in that. Number one, as an offensive line, we had opportunities to play better on early downs to put ourselves in more advantageous situations so you don't have a pass rush teeing off on you, right? That's the number one thing. It all works together. The plays aren't, secluded in individual moments, right? The game gets played together. So obviously that, and I think, we know a big marching charge coming out of the offseason is like we've got to be able to handle elite movement better, right? And that's something that we work on every day, but it's become more of a point of emphasis. We're building that into our practice plan more often than maybe we have in the past, just making that a point of emphasis. And, there's a lot of things that go into that, but I think we can learn different things, right? We play better on early downs. You're not as in many of those situations, right? We got to be able to do that as an offensive line to keep our offense on track, right? So we're not getting behind the eight ball in a situation where guys can pin their ears back. And then when guys pin their ears back, we've got to be good enough to be able to step up and give the quarterback time so we can go operate. So all those things are coming into play from a practice plan standpoint. Not that they weren't in the past, but there's some things that we're emphasizing more with this group.
Coach, what's changed under Arthur Smith now as a coordinator, and especially when it comes to the run game?
Yeah, I think plays are the plays and runs are runs. Like I think when you look at football, there's not a ton that anyone's doing that we can't point out and say, hey, that's this play or that's that play that you didn't have it in your offense. I think it's more so, I'd say, big picture right now, just really establishing an identity of how we're going to run the ball. Like what are the plays in any game that we can hang our hat on, right? Not just game plan specific, but like, hey, these are 10, 12, 15 core runs that we feel like we could put out against any front structure, any type of movement, and we're going to be able to run the ball. And I look at that as like we're able to hang our hat on something. And I think certainly we're trying to build that identity in the spring. It's a work in progress, but we'll continue that through summer and fall camp.
You said violence. He used the word. What does that mean to you? Controlled violence, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, offensive line is a position of controlled aggression, right? You're not I feel like a defensive lineman can play out of control at times. You can be out of a guy. We've got a job to do, and we've got to work in cohesion. But, like, there has to be a mentality when we have 5 guys go on the field that we're going to be the toughest, most rugged group on that field, and that everyone can count on us. Because at the end of the day, I really believe this, and we harp on this in the room, an offensive lineman's job is to make other people around him play better. Right, that's your job, right? You can't do that unless you're tough, rugged, and smart. So those are things that we're preaching, and that violence is a part of that. That controlled aggression, like putting into your mind that I'm going to go out and move a man from point A to point B, or I'm going to stop a man against his will trying to get to the quarterback. And it does start with a mindset. Then it goes into the technique and how we're teaching things. But that mindset is really critical.
You got
Last there's been a lot of offensive lines here that maybe have a lot of experience coming back, but don't have a lot of depth, or have decent depth, but don't have a lot of experience coming back. It seems like you guys have both. Would you agree with that?
I don't know if I feel that way ever. I don't know if I feel that we ever have enough experience or enough depth, but I think we certainly have some pieces that if we continue on a track of development, we have an opportunity to have depth.
You mentioned a couple of guys on the line have a couple thousand snaps at this point with Carson and Austin Everett. Where does that show up? Where does that show up of 4th and 5th year guys?
Yeah, well, I think it shows up in leadership, number one, and number two, I think it shows up on the field from the ability to problem solve. There's the way defensive coordinators structure the game these days, like there's not going to be a game where, going into it, you're going to have scouted everything that they're going to throw at you in that game. So you try to do a good job as a coaching staff of forecasting how they may stop those core plays or these core concepts to give them an idea, but it gives you the ability through experience for guys to be able to problem solve on their feet. So I'd say leadership and problem solving, they have an opportunity to do that.
All right, thanks, guys.
What Ian did last year against Purdue and then the second half against Miami, how close, if you would have needed more from Ian last year, how close would he have been a year ago to giving you guys even more snaps, even more as a starter, if that's what was called for?
Well, I think obviously he was close, right? He was a guy that we counted on to be the first guy in the game, and I think Eden's continued to make growth this offseason, and we got to continue that through the summer and fall camp.
Thanks,
All
Coach.
right, thanks, guys.
Thanks, man.
Appreciate you.